The Ray, #2, written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, art by Jamal Igle. We left off last issue with the Ray's entire origin story. He was going to tell us about his dinner with his girlfriend Chianti, and then there was a little side story about a dude coming out of a haunted videotape from some cannibal tribe. We'll get back to that. So this issue picks up pretty much the same night. There's a couple walking down the street, and they are accosted by, as the cover says, flying monster stingrays. So there's a whole fight scene. Ray comes in, starts beating them up, and does all that. Basically, the entire time he's just monologuing about, like, man, I can't believe I'm more scared about meeting Chianti's parents than I am fighting off these things and saving people's lives. Ain't life weird like that? And then a stingray attacks him. He's like, oh, right, yeah, I got to focus on this. Okay. So it gets into a nightclub, like knocks him into a nightclub. Everyone freaks out, and they're like, oh, my God, it's the Ray. Isn't that so cool? And he reasons that he can absorb the light from the nightclub to keep it dark and keep everyone else safe because these things are supposedly attracted to light. And so he zooms back out of the nightclub, and he's like, all right, well, they fly in the air and they're attracted to light. So maybe they're like the opposite of fish. Let's see if they can swim. So he sets up a wall that knocks them all down into the water beneath, and they all drown, and that's it. He beat the flying monster stingrays. But he burned out his light, like he ran out of energy, so he has to swim 3 miles back to shore and is likely going to be late for dinner with his his girlfriend's parents. And when he gets there, he realizes, so the girlfriend's parents don't like that he's not Indian because they want their daughter to marry a fellow Indian. So he uses his light-bending powers that when he arrives, he makes himself look Indian, which is a whole host of other problems that I won't be getting into. But he arrives and he's like, so I was born and raised here, so I don't sound Indian or know anything about India, but I certainly have Indian blood. And as the parents sit him down, and they're a bit confused because they thought that Lucien was of Asian descent. And finally, Chianti shows up and she's like, who's this guy? He's like, don't you recognize me, honey? I'm Lucien. He's like, oh my God, you're doing that thing. Get out. And they both step outside, and she just rains into him and yells at him for not even giving a chance for her parents to learn the real him. And she slams the door in his face, and he clearly blew it in pretty much 15 minutes. As the caption here puts, ladies and gentlemen, that is what you call an epic fail. This was written in 2012. So we cut back briefly to Ray climbing out of the water, and we see that there was a drone with a video camera that was recording him, and whoever's handling the drone wants to follow the Ray because the first act needs to open with something big. So, yes, it's about that Hollywood thing. We see later that Lucien's friend, I forget, Darius and Chianti are hanging out, going to dinner. And basically they're just talking about whether or not Lucien deserves to be forgiven. Darius thinks his heart's in the right place, and Chianti is pretty much okay with forgiving him, but she doesn't think her parents ever will, so what's the point in trying to continue that relationship? Meanwhile, we see outside the restaurant, as they're talking about his super heroic antics, there's this giant explosion, the windows blow out, and these spheres start descending from the sky and rolling out towards people. And they open up and reveal that they're crazy, like, pillbug bots, and they start spraying people with gas and just eating them alive. Darius tries to get Chianti out of there, but she gets sprayed as the Ray comes in, and despite him trying to catch up with her, the bug scoops her up and takes off into the sky, and he proceeds to take off after her, saying, Chianti, I'm coming. And that's where the issue ends, of him trying to rescue his maybe ex-girlfriend, maybe current girlfriend, I don't know, however you want to call it. I like it. It's more fun than the last issue, because the last issue was just bogged down in an origin story and explaining the powers. This one is able to just move forward. It's able to say, okay, we've established all the players, we know their relationships, we're able to just continue forward with this. I do think they said throughout the issue that these monsters are coming because of that beam that gave him his powers. Apparently, these portals are opening up among the trajectory of it, so that is responsible for it in some way. They play it off so easily though that I don't think we're ever actually really going to deal with it. I think we're just going to be reactive to the monsters showing up. So, whatever. But no, it's just a fun little book. Like, it's not taking itself seriously at all. Like, he's using his superpowers to try to impress his girlfriend's parents. It feels like more of a teenage book than it does like, oh, this is the hard hitting Batman. It just feels more like a Spider-Man than that. But no, overall, I give it a 6.5. I don't. There's still enough problems with it in terms of it's just kind of doing things. Like, yes, it's fun, but it also doesn't. Nothing is causing the rest of the stuff. Why did these pillbug robots come down? Because they did. Why did the stingrays come down? Because they did. Why is this guy suddenly just stumble across the ray and want to follow him for his movie thing? Because he did. Like, these things are just happening disconnectedly. It's not a good, like, story in terms of getting everything, like, actions having consequences, but hey, whatever. So no, 6.5 for it right now. I'm hoping it gets better, but it only has 4 issues to do so. So here's hoping.